James Gunn's Superman isn't just a movie, it's Warner Brothers' billion-dollar bet on the future of DC because of everything that's being sacrificed. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Superman. The name alone carries the weight of truth, justice, and a studio exec's worst nightmares if the numbers don't add up. This is no ordinary superhero reboot. This is the Superman reboot, the one that must succeed at all costs, lest Warner Brothers find itself in the cinematic equivalent of a kryptonite pit. James Gunn, the mad genius behind Guardians of the Galaxy and the much-celebrated The Suicide Squad, is now the captain of this high-stakes mission. But let's be real, this movie isn't just another summer blockbuster. It's the pillar upon which an entire cinematic universe and possibly the hopes and dreams of an entire fandom rests. It's not just about bringing Superman back to the big screen, it's about redefining him for modern audiences. We're talking about a character who has been through multiple iterations, from Christopher Reeve's iconic portrayal to Henry Cavill's brooding yet beloved version. Now, Gunn has to find a way to make audiences fall in love with the big blue Boy Scout again, while ensuring the movie doesn't feel like a carbon copy of everything we've seen before. That's a tall order. It's like being asked to reinvent pizza. Sure, people love it, but if you mess it up, the backlash will be legendary. Warner Brothers has been making moves like a nervous poker player betting their last chips. From shelving projects mid-production, Batgirl, to outright canceling fan-favorite continuations, Smallville, every decision seems to be hinging on the idea that Gunn's Superman will be the cinematic savior they need. No pressure, right? And given that it has already been used as an excuse to shelf multiple beloved projects, Superman better deliver more than just cool action sequences and heroic speeches. It needs to be a billion-dollar event. Anything less. Absolute disaster. So, if James Gunn's Superman wants to justify all the cancellations, all the reboots, and all the studio execs hyperventilating into brown paper bags, it needs to aim way higher. The target? $1 billion, minimum. Because if it doesn't, the discourse will be brutal. Memes will be made. Think pieces will be written. And somewhere, in a shadowy corporate office, a Warner Brothers executive will be quietly weeping into their unused Smallville revival pitch. Let's put things into perspective. According to IMDb, the last Superman solo movie, Man of Steel, made about $670 million at the global box office. Decent, but not exactly the Dark Knight numbers. Since then, superhero movies have gone from being cultural events, Avengers, Endgame raking in $2.7 billion to, well, something that people casually check reviews for before deciding if it's worth the IMAX ticket price. Let's put things into perspective. According to IMDb, the last Superman solo movie, Man of Steel, made about $670 million at the global box office. Decent, but not exactly the Dark Knight numbers. Since then, superhero movies have gone from being cultural events, Avengers, Endgame raking in $2.7 billion to, well, something that people casually check reviews for before deciding if it's worth the IMAX ticket price. So, if James Gunn's Superman wants to justify all the cancellations, all the reboots, and all the studio execs hyperventilating into brown paper bags, it needs to aim way higher. The target? $1 billion, minimum. Because if it doesn't, the discourse will be brutal. Memes will be made. Think pieces will be written. And somewhere, in a shadowy corporate office, a Warner Brothers executive will be quietly weeping into their unused Smallville revival pitch. The stakes are sky high. If Gunn nails it, he'll be heralded as the man who finally got Superman right again. If he doesn't, let's just say, the internet will never let him hear the end of it. And worse yet, Superman might just get benched for another decade while studios argue over how to fix him again. So, James Gunn, no pressure. Just, don't mess this up. Superman teaser trailer is out and DC fans are loving James Gunn's version of Man of Steel. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. James Gunn's Superman has dropped its first teaser trailer, and it has received a positive response from the world over. Gunn's film is undoubtedly one of the most anticipated films of 2025. From the teaser, it appears that Gunn has checked every box to make DC fandom happy. David Corenswet will play this iteration of Superman. Rachel Brosnahan plays Lois Lane while Nicholas Hoult appears as the classic Superman villain Lex Luthor. Other confirmed cast members of the film include Skylar Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen, Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, Maria Gabriela de Faria as the engineer, Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific, Terence Rosemore as Otis, Anthony Carrigan as Metamorpho, and Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl. Fans saw a Man of Steel who is more relatable and spreads optimism around. Particularly, one scene in the trailer where David Corenswet's character swoops in to save a girl from crashing debris is something classic Superman does. Superman stands as hope for the people as the chant, "Superman," gets louder and louder during the run of the teaser. It is further highlighted in the teaser when a young boy raises a flag with the S symbol and whispers Superman's name during a time of crisis. Gunn himself mentioned the inspiration from comic books during an interview. He shared with comicbook.com, "There's a lot of stuff from the comic books above and beyond anything else, All-Star Superman, that influenced me more than anything. The comic-accurate costumes, the settings, and even the plethora of characters and Easter eggs that flashed through the scenes look all promising. We even have Krypto the Superdog in the movie." Even before the teaser trailer, James Gunn gave us hints that comics would play a huge part in his Superman film. More recent superhero film directors have received the wrath of the audience for steering away from the source material for the sake of originality. However, Gunn plans to reel in the comic book fandom by giving them what they exactly want. This Superman is also going to be kissy-kissy as we see a couple of smooches between David Corenswet's Clark Kent and Rachel Brosnahan's Lois Lane. It appears that Superman doesn't need to hide his identity from Lois. Adding to the color tone, fans didn't know they needed to hear a twist on John Williams' iconic Superman theme from the 70s to get in the spirit. The moody theme perfectly balances out the cheery colors, giving fans a satisfactory experience from the teaser. The first thing that hits us right from the moment Superman crash-lands at the beginning of the trailer is the bright colors of the teaser. James Gunn nailed the character and the world's tone with these colors. The colorful filter also helps bring hope and optimism into the film. The color choice also gives the character a classic look, which many fans point out to be a prime attraction in this trailer. In an attempt to modernize Superman, Snyder gave a more serious approach to Henry Cavill's Superman. While it appealed to a certain section of fans, Cavill's version wasn't the superhero that kids grew up with. The blue hue color tone of the movie itself gave off a sense of darkness. Fans also complained that Cavill's Superman couldn't spread the hope and optimism that the character stood for. Another hot take is that Snyder's movie, while visually unique, wasn't ideal for franchise building due to its more self-contained themes. However, Gunn's vision for the Superman universe feels expansive, even reminding us of Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man as a foundation for a broader franchise. Given the manner in which things ended at DCU, James Gunn's Superman is expected to face obvious comparisons with Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. However, many felt that Gunn understands Superman better than Snyder. The Guardians of the Galaxy director understands that the DC superhero needs to be relatable and not a dark, gritty portrayal. Before Henry Cavill's Man of Steel, fans were privy to live-action Superman through actor Christopher Reeve. Fans would generally like to forget about the Brandon Routh version, though not due to any fault on the actor's part. Donnerverse had two great movies that made even the non-readers of comics into a huge Superman film. And then there were the two horrible films that were made purely for money and ironically didn't make much. Gunn shared about the influences from Donner's films via comicbook.com. It has already been mentioned that the teaser carries a classic look to it and that John Williams' music works perfectly for it. If these two factors don't scream James Gunn's inspiration for the film, we don't know what will. Throughout the teaser, fans can see the influence of Richard Donner's Superman films. Even the visual text in between scenes resembles the font that the 1978 film used. I think that obviously, the original Donner movie influenced me, but there